The transport shuttle descended through the pink clouds of Veltara, carrying something the Celestial Academy of Survival Sciences had never seen before. Inside sat Jiho, a human from Earth, looking out the window at a world that seemed too peaceful to be real. The sky was soft pink. The trees below were silver and blue. Everything looked gentle and calm. Jiho touched the window with one hand. Back home, the sky changed from blue to gray to orange depending on the weather. Storms could appear in minutes. Here everything seemed still and perfect. First time off Earth? The pilot asked. She was Quillian, covered in soft feathers that shimmered green and gold. Yes, Jiho said simply. He was 28 years old but looked older. His face had lines from years spent outdoors. His hands were rough with calluses. He wore simple clothes, a dark jacket, pants with many pockets, and boots that had seen better days. The pilot looked at his small bag. That is all you brought? It is enough, Jiho replied. The pilot made a sound that might have been a laugh. The students will find you very interesting. The academy was beautiful. Buildings made of white stone curved around gardens filled with plants from 100 worlds. Students walked between classes in small groups. Most looked young and excited. They came from all over the galaxy to learn survival skills from the best teachers. Professor Velnoth waited at the landing pad. He was old for a Quillian, his feathers more gray than gold. He had taught survival science for 40 years. He had trained students from 50 different species, but he had never met a human before. Welcome to Veltara, the professor said. His voice was kind but formal. I am Professor Velnoth. You must be Jiho. Yes, sir. Jiho bowed slightly, a habit from his culture. I must be honest, the professor said as they walked. When the council suggested bringing someone from Earth, many of us were skeptical. Your planet is not known for advanced survival technology. No, Jiho agreed. We are not. But the reports from the first contact team were very unusual. They said humans have survived on Earth for thousands of years despite extreme conditions. Is this true? Yes, sir. Earth is not an easy world. Professor Velnoth made notes on his datapad. Interesting. While my students are eager to see a demonstration, they are the best young survival experts in this sector. Very talented, very advanced. They entered a large classroom. 30 students sat at curved desks. They represented many species. Some had feathers, some had scales. Some looked like they were made of crystal. All of them turned to stare at Jiho. One student, a female Quillian with bright blue feathers, whispered to her neighbor. That is the Deathworlder? He looked so plain. Her name was Hyerin. She was top of the class and very proud of it. She had studied survival techniques from 12 different planets. She had earned honors in tracking, shelter building, and resource management. A human from a backwater planet did not impress her. Next to Hyerin sat Dayun, a Velkoran with smooth aqua skin and large eyes that never blinked. Be nice, Dayun whispered back. We should give him a chance. A chance to embarrass himself, said a male voice from behind them. This was Sunwoo, a Draken with red scales and sharp teeth. He was the Academy's athletics champion. Look at his equipment.
He has almost nothing, it was true.
While students had advanced sensor packs, climate-controlled gear, and emergency beacons, Jiho carried only a small pack. He set it on the professor's desk and opened it. Inside was a knife with a worn handle, a coil of rope, and a simple metal container for water. This is all? Professor Velnoth asked, surprised. For today's lesson, yes, sir. A male Theron named Minho raised his hand. Therons looked like they were carved from living crystal, and Minho's surface was a deep purple color. Professor, what exactly will the human be demonstrating? Excellent question. Professor Velnoth activated a wall screen. It showed a forest on the Academy grounds. This is Training Forest 1. It is home to many harmless creatures, including the Grenna. The Grenna is a peaceful plant eater about this size. He indicated something like a deer from Earth. Your assignment has been to track and identify Grenna signs. The class record is 45 minutes, set by Hyerin last term. Hyerin smiled proudly. Today, Jiho will attempt the same exercise. This will help us understand human tracking methods. The professor turned to Jiho. Are you ready? Yes, sir. You may use any equipment you brought. Jiho looked at his small bag and smiled slightly. I will not need any equipment for this. Several students laughed quietly. Sunwoo shook his head. This will be over quickly. They all walked to Training Forest 1. The forest was beautiful and safe, with soft moss covering the ground and gentle streams running between the trees. The gravity was lighter than Earth's, making everything feel a bit floaty. For most students, this was as close to wilderness as they wanted to experience. Professor Velnoth checked his timer. "You may begin." Jiho closed his eyes for a moment, breathing slowly. Then he opened them and walked into the forest. He did not rush. He moved carefully, looking at the ground, touching trees, stopping to smell the air. The students watched from a safe distance, their sensors recording everything. "What is he doing?" asked Yuna, a female Zentari who looked like a large insect with intelligent eyes. "He is just walking." "Very slowly," Sunwoo added. "At this rate, it will take him hours." But Hyerin was watching more carefully. She noticed how Jiho's eyes moved, constantly scanning. She saw how he paused at certain plants, examining them without touching. She noticed he often looked up at the branches, not just down at the ground. After 3 minutes, Jiho stopped at a small stream. He knelt down, studying the muddy bank. Then he stood and walked directly into a thick group of bushes. "He will lose the trail," Minho said. But 30 seconds later, Jiho emerged from the other side. He walked another 100 meters, then stopped in a small clearing. He turned back to the group and called out, "Found it." Professor Velnoth checked his timer. His feathers ruffled in surprise. 6 minutes and 12 seconds. "That is impossible." They all rushed to where Jiho stood. He pointed at the ground. "Grenna was here 2 hours ago. Female, middle-aged, approximately 60 kilograms. She ate from these plants." He indicated some chewed leaves. She walked that direction, favoring her left rear leg slightly. "There is an old injury, healed but still bothering her." "How can you know all that?" Hyerin demanded. Jiho pointed to different signs. Hoofprints in the soft earth show her weight and direction. The depth of the right rear print is less, meaning she puts less weight on that leg. The teeth marks on the plants are worn in a pattern that shows age. The height of the marks tells me her size. "But anyone could find these signs," Sunwoo protested. "Yes," Jiho agreed. "But there is more. Based on what she ate and how much, I can tell you where she will be tomorrow at dawn. She will return to this clearing because there is a mineral deposit in that rock formation that she needs for her diet. She comes here every 3 days. The next visit is tomorrow morning." Professor Velnoth's beak fell open. "How could you possibly know that?" "The pattern of visits is visible in the age tracks. 3 sets of prints, all about 3 days apart. The mineral deposit is visible on the rocks where animals have been licking it. This is a regular feeding site." The students were silent. Even Hierin could not find anything to criticize. Yuna checked her data scanner. "The information is accurate. There is indeed a mineral deposit there." "Lucky guess," Sunwoo muttered, but he sounded less certain now. Professor Velnoth looked at Jiho with new respect. "That was remarkable. I have never seen tracking that detailed, that fast." Jiho just nodded. "On Earth, this is normal survival skill. If you cannot track, you cannot eat. If you cannot eat, you die." As they walked back to the classroom, Daeun moved closer to Jiho. "Your world made you learn all this just to survive?" "Yes," Jiho said. "Earth is not a kind place. It has storms that can destroy cities, animals that can kill with claws or teeth or poison, plants that can hurt you, weather that changes fast. You must pay attention or you will not live long." Hyerin was listening too, though she pretended not to. For the first time, she wondered what it would be like to come from such a dangerous world. Here on Veltara, the worst danger was getting lost and missing dinner. That evening, the students gathered in their common room. Everyone was talking about the human. 6 minutes, Minho said, shaking his crystal head. "I still cannot believe it." "Maybe it was luck," Sunwoo insisted. "One test proves nothing." But Hyerin was looking at her notes, comparing them to academy records. "I do not think it was luck," she said quietly. "I think we have no idea what humans are really capable of." In his small room, Jiho sat by the window looking at the pink sky of this gentle world. He thought about home, about Earth's blue sky that could turn dark with storms in minutes. He thought about the mountains where he had trained, the forests where he had learned to survive. Tomorrow would bring new lessons. These students were smart and talented, but they had never known real danger. They had never felt what it meant to survive on a world that was always trying to kill you. He wondered how they would react when they learned the truth about Deathworlders, about humans, about what it really meant to be a predator who chose to be civilized. Outside, the gentle pink sun set slowly, and the peaceful night of Veltara began. It was nothing like the dangerous nights of Earth. The morning sun rose over the academy training grounds. Students gathered in small groups, talking excitedly about the day's challenge. Word had spread about Jiho's tracking demonstration. Some students were curious. Others remained skeptical. And one student was angry. Sunwoo stood with his arms crossed, his red scales gleaming in the sunlight. He was surrounded by admirers, as always. As the Academy's athletics champion, he was used to being the best at everything physical. The idea that a human from a primitive planet could outperform anyone bothered him deeply. It was just tracking, Sunwoo said loudly enough for others to hear. Finding footprints is not impressive. Real survival requires strength, speed, and endurance. Physical capability. His friend, a male Dracon named Kenji, nodded agreement. Humans are smaller than us, weaker. I heard their bone density is lower. Their muscle structure is inefficient, added another student. Nearby, Dayun was talking with Yuna. The Zentari female was reviewing data on her tablet. I have been researching Earth, Yuna said. The information is very limited, but what exists is concerning. Concerning how? Dayun asked. Earth's gravity is 1.7 times what we have here on Veltara. The temperature variations are extreme. The planet has massive predators, violent weather patterns, and high disease rates. According to these records, 60% of Earth's species have gone extinct in the last few million years. Dayun's large eyes widened. And humans survived all that? Not just survived. They became the dominant species. Before Dayun could respond, Professor Velnoth called for attention. Jiho stood beside him, looking the same as yesterday. Simple clothes, calm expression, carrying nothing but his small pack. Today's lesson will be different, the professor announced. Young Sunwoo has requested a demonstration of physical capability. He has challenged our guest to a race. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Hyerin, standing near the front, frowned. A race? That seems unfair. Dragons are built for speed and power. Exactly, Sunwoo said with a confident smile. Let us see how the Deathworlder performs in a real test. Professor Velnoth looked uncomfortable. Jiho, you do not have to accept this challenge. Jiho shrugged. It is fine. I accept. The race course was 10 kilometers through varied terrain. It included flat ground, hills, rocky areas, and streams. It was designed to test different physical skills. Sunwoo had run this course many times. His best time was 42 minutes, a school record. Both competitors stood at the starting line. Sunwoo bounced on his feet, his muscles clearly visible under his scales. He wore expensive running gear designed for optimal performance. Jiho wore his regular boots and had removed his jacket, revealing a simple shirt underneath. Minho stepped forward to serve as official timer. The course is marked with blue flags. First to reach the finish line wins. Ready? Sunwoo crouched into a sprinter's stance. Jiho stood upright, breathing slowly. Go. Sunwoo exploded forward. His powerful legs drove him ahead at incredible speed. Within seconds, he had a huge lead. The watching students cheered as his red scales flashed in the sunlight. Jiho started jogging. Not running. Just jogging at a steady, moderate pace. He showed no urgency at all. What is he doing? Tajan asked. The male Karathi was a gentle herbivore species, always worried about others. He is so far behind already. He has given up, Sunwoo's friend Kenji said. He knows he cannot win, but Hyerin was watching Jiho's face. He looked calm, focused, not worried at all. His breathing was steady and even. His pace never changed. At the 2-kilometer mark, Sunwoo was still far ahead. He glanced back and saw Jiho maintaining that same steady jog. Sunwoo smiled and pushed harder, increasing his speed. At 3 kilometers, Sunwoo's breathing became heavier. The course was going uphill now, rocky and steep. His legs burned with effort. He was still ahead, but the lead had shrunk slightly. When he looked back, Jiho was still jogging at exactly the same pace, moving steadily up the hill. At 5 kilometers, something changed. Sunwoo had to slow down. His chest heaved as he gasped for air. His muscles screamed with fatigue. Sweat poured down his scales. The course leveled out here, but he could not maintain his speed anymore. Behind him, Jiho's pace had not changed at all. Still jogging, still breathing steadily. The gap between them grew smaller with every step. Students watching from observation points along the course began to notice. Jiho is gaining, Daeon said with surprise. Impossible, Kenji protested. Sunwoo is barely halfway. No one tires that fast. But Yuna was checking her sensors. Sunwoo's heart rate is 190 beats per minute. His body temperature is elevated. He is experiencing muscle fatigue. She adjusted her scanner to focus on Jiho. The human's heart rate is only 120. His breathing is unchanged. His temperature is normal. It is as if the run has not affected him at all. At 6 kilometers, Sunwoo had to stop. He leaned against a rock, gasping desperately for air. His vision blurred. His legs shook. He had pushed too hard, too fast. Every muscle in his body screamed for rest. Jiho jogged past him without stopping. He glanced at Sunwoo and called out, "Slow and steady. That is the key." Sunwoo tried to start running again, but his body would not obey. He managed a stumbling walk, then had to stop again. At 8 kilometers, Jiho was alone in the lead. His pace had still not changed. He jogged through a stream without hesitation, water splashing up his legs. He climbed over rocks with easy movements. His face showed concentration, but not strain. The students ran to the finish line to watch. Professor Velnoth stood with his timer ready, shaking his head in disbelief. Jiho appeared through the trees, still jogging at that same steady pace. He crossed the finish line and stopped. Only then did his breathing increase slightly. He bent over with his hands on his knees, taking several deep breaths. After 30 seconds, he stood up straight and looked normal again. "Time?" he asked. Professor Velnoth stared at his timer. 53 minutes. You maintained the exact same pace for the entire distance. "Where is Sunwoo?" Minyo asked. They waited. After 10 more minutes, Sunwoo finally stumbled across the finish line. He immediately collapsed to the ground. His friend Kenji rushed over with water and medical supplies. "I do not understand," Sunwoo gasped. "How? You are not even tired." Jiho walked over and offered his hand. Sunwoo hesitated, then took it. Jiho pulled him to his feet with surprising strength. "I am tired," Jiho said. "But humans evolved for this. We call it persistence hunting." "Persistence hunting?" Hiren asked. She had her notebook out again. Jiho nodded. "On Earth, humans are not the fastest animals. We are not the strongest. But we can run longer than almost anything else. Our ancestors would choose a prey animal and chase it. Not fast, just steady. Hour after hour, the animal would run away fast, then stop to rest. But humans would keep coming, never stopping, never slowing. Eventually, the prey would collapse from exhaustion. Then the humans would catch it. That is horrifying," Taejin said quietly. "That is survival," Jiho replied. "Humans have several adaptations for this. We have many sweat glands to cool our bodies. We can regulate temperature very well. Our tendons and muscles are designed for efficiency over long distances. Our breathing can stay steady for hours." Yuna was frantically taking notes. "But the energy required for such movement must be enormous. How do you sustain it?" "Humans are very good at using fat for energy. We can run for many hours on stored energy. Some humans on Earth can run for 24 hours without stopping." "Impossible," Kenji said. "Not impossible. Just evolved differently. You Drakens evolved for short bursts of speed, powerful hunting strikes. Very effective. But humans evolved for something else. We evolved to outlast everything. To be the thing that never stops coming." A chill went through the watching students. Suddenly Jiho seemed different. Not weak, not primitive. Dangerous in a way they had not considered. Sunwoo was recovering now, drinking water and catching his breath. His pride was hurt worse than his body. "I am faster than you," he said stubbornly. "Stronger too." "Yes," Jiho agreed easily. "You are faster and stronger. But I can keep going after you stop." "That is the difference," Daeon spoke up. "How long could you maintain that pace?" Jiho thought about it. "In this gravity? With this temperature? Maybe 6 or 7 hours before I would need to rest seriously." The students stared in shock. 6 or 7 hours? Sunwoo had barely managed 45 minutes. Professor Velnoth was looking at Jiho with something like awe. "Your species evolved to be pursuit predators. Not ambush hunters who strike fast, but persistent predators who never give up." "Yes, sir. Earth shaped us. Made us tough, made us able to endure." Hiren closed her notebook slowly. Her worldview was shifting. Yesterday she had thought humans were primitive and unimpressive. Today she was starting to understand something disturbing. Humans were not weak, they were terrifying in a completely different way. "What other adaptations do humans have?" she asked. Jiho smiled slightly. "Many, but we have just started these lessons. There is much more to learn." That evening, the students gathered again in their common room. No one was making jokes anymore. Sunwoo sat quietly, still exhausted from the race. His friends did not tease Jiho anymore. Yuna had compiled her research into a presentation. She showed it to interested students. Humans have the highest endurance capability of any known species. They have remarkable temperature regulation. The transport vehicles arrived at dawn to take the class to the challenging zone. This was a larger forest preserve on the far side of the academy grounds. Unlike Training Forest 1, this area had some actual danger. Small predators lived here. The weather could change. Students needed to use real survival skills. Professor Velnoth stood before the class explaining the assignment. You will spend 48 hours in the challenging zone. You must establish camp, secure food and water, and survive until pickup time. You may work in teams or alone. You may use any equipment you bring. The students began unloading their gear from the vehicles. Hyarin had a climate-controlled tent that could maintain perfect temperature in any weather. Minho carried a water purifier that could process 50 liters per hour. Yuna brought a food synthesizer that could create meals from base proteins. Even Taejin, the peaceful Karathi, had an emergency beacon and defense shield generator. Then there was Jiho. He stepped off the transport carrying the same small pack. The same knife, rope, and water container. You are not bringing more equipment? Professor Velnoth asked with concern. This is enough, sir. But the challenging zone has real dangers. There are Scoran packs here. They are like your earth wolves, but smaller. I understand, sir. I will be fine. Sunwoo watched this exchange with mixed feelings. After yesterday's race, he had new respect for the human. But this seemed foolish. Jiho, at least take a defense shield. Pride is not worth getting hurt. Jiho smiled at the concern in Sunwoo's voice. Thank you. But I do not need it. You will see. The class split into groups and moved into the forest. Hyarin teamed with Daeun and Somin, another female Quillian who was Hyarin's study partner. They found a good location near a stream and began setting up their advanced equipment. Minho's group established camp on higher ground with good visibility. They arranged their shelters in a defensive circle and activated security sensors. Jiho walked alone into a dense part of the forest. The other students watched him go with worry. Should we follow him? Taejin asked. To make sure he is safe? Professor Velnoth considered this. No, let us see what he does. I will monitor him from the observation post. The first day passed quietly. Students set up their camps and tested their equipment. Everything worked perfectly. They had comfortable shelters, clean water, and hot meals. Some students even complained that it was too easy. Jiho, meanwhile, had disappeared into the forest. The monitoring system showed his location, but he was deep in the trees where cameras could not see clearly. As night fell, the students activated their lighting systems. Their camps glowed with artificial light. Inside the climate tents, temperature stayed perfect. Outside, the forest grew dark and strange sounds began. In Hyarin's camp, the three Quillians ate synthesized meals and reviewed their notes from the day. This is not very challenging, Somin said. I expected more difficulty. Wait until tomorrow, Daeun replied. The professor said the Scoran are more active during the day. They heard a howl in the distance. Then another. The sounds were coming closer. Scoran, Hyarin said, checking her scanner. A pack of 5. They are moving toward our area. We should activate the defense shields, Somin said nervously. They pressed the buttons. Shimmering energy barriers appeared around their camp. The shields would keep out any animal. They were completely safe. The Scoran emerged from the trees. They looked like wolves, but with 6 legs and scales mixed with fur. Their eyes glowed yellow in the darkness. They circled the camp, growling and sniffing. They cannot get through, Daeun said. We are safe. The Scoran tested the barrier with their paws, then sat down outside the perimeter, waiting. In Minho's camp, similar things were happening. Scoran had surrounded them too. The students activated their shields and watched the animals prowl outside. Where is Jiho's camp? Minho wondered aloud. He does not have shields, they checked their maps. Jiho's position showed he was about 2 kilometers away, alone, with no defensive barriers active. We should go help him, said Jiwon, a female Theron and Minho's cousin. She was studying tactical sciences and had good instincts. The professor said not to interfere, Minho replied, but he looked worried too. At Jiho's location, something different was happening. He had built a shelter using branches and leaves. It was small and simple but solid. He had made a fire using friction, rubbing sticks together until they sparked. The fire burned steady and bright. He sat next to the fire, relaxed and calm. His knife rested within easy reach. Around him, the forest was dark and full of sounds. Then the Skorin came, 6 of them larger than the ones that had approached the other camps. These were a different pack, more aggressive. The leader was a big male with scarred face and missing teeth from many fights. The Skorin stopped at the edge of Jiho's firelight. They growled deep and threatening, their eyes fixed on him. They smelled food. They saw prey. Jiho stood up slowly. He did not grab his knife. He did not run. He just stood there facing the pack. Then he did something the monitoring cameras barely caught. He made eye contact with the alpha male, direct, unwavering, and he made a sound deep in his throat, not quite a growl. Something else. Something primal. The alpha Skorin's ears went flat. It took a step back. The other pack members whined nervously. Jiho took one step forward, just one. His eyes never left the alpha's face. The alpha Skorin broke eye contact. It turned its head away in submission. Then it backed up slowly. The rest of the pack followed. Within seconds, they melted into the forest, leaving Jiho alone. He sat back down by his fire and continued preparing his dinner. In the observation post, Professor Velnoth sat frozen, staring at the monitor. "Did that just happen?" he whispered. The next morning, the students emerged from their camps. The Skorin had eventually left everyone alone, losing interest once they realized they could not get through the shields. Hyarin's group packed up some equipment and decided to visit Jiho's camp. They wanted to check if he was okay. Minho's group had the same idea. Soon a dozen students were walking through the forest toward Jiho's location. They found him cooking something over his fire. He had caught fish from the stream using a trap made from woven sticks. He was roasting them on flat rocks heated in the flames. "Jiho," Taiyajin called out with relief. "You are alive." Jiho looked up and smiled. "Good morning. Would you like some fish?" "The Skorin came last night," Hiran said. "We saw them on our scanners. A pack came to your location. We were worried." "Yes, they came. We had a conversation. They decided to leave." "A conversation?" Salman asked. "What do you mean?" Jiho tried to find the right words. Eye contact. Body language. Showing them I was not prey. I was predator. "But they are predators too," Minho said. "How could they know you were dangerous?" "Animals know. They sense it. Humans evolved as apex predators on Earth. Other predators can feel this. Even alien predators have instincts that recognize danger." Yuna was scanning Jiho with her instruments. "Your biochemistry showed elevated adrenaline last night. Your heart rate increased, but you did not run or hide. You confronted them. Running would have triggered their chase instinct. Hiding would have made me prey. Standing my ground made me a threat. They chose to find easier food." The students stared at him. Then they looked at his simple camp. No technology, no shields. Just a fire, a shelter made from branches, and a human who scared away predators with eye contact. "Show us how you made this," Yaren said suddenly. "The shelter, the fire, the fish trap, all of it. You want to learn?" Jiho asked. "Yes, our equipment is wonderful, but what if it fails? What if we are somewhere without technology? We need to know what you know." The other students agreed. Even Sunwoo nodded. For the rest of the day, Jiho taught them basic survival skills. He showed them how to identify good shelter locations. High ground for visibility, near water but not too close. Protected from wind but with escape routes. He taught them to make fire by friction. Most students failed many times. Their hands were not strong enough or their technique was wrong. But Hyarin succeeded after 40 attempts. When her tinder finally caught and flame appeared, she felt more proud than when she had won academic honors. He showed them how to purify water by boiling it. How to identify edible plants by testing them carefully. How to make rope from certain tree bark. How to use stones as tools. On Earth, humans survived for thousands of years with only these skills, Jiho explained. No technology. Just knowledge passed from parent to child. Knowledge earned through trial and error. Many people died learning what plants were safe, what water was clean, how to avoid predators. Your ancestors paid in blood for this knowledge, Dayun said quietly. Yes. Every skill I teach you, someone died learning it. That is why we remember. Why we practice. We honor those who learned the hard way. That afternoon, Jiho demonstrated tracking again. He showed them how to read broken twigs, disturbed earth, animal droppings. He taught them to identify which predators were in the area by the marks they left. Always know what shares your territory, he said. Always know what might hunt you. As evening approached, he taught them about fire safety and night awareness. Fire keeps most predators away, but you must maintain it. Never let it die. Never waste fuel. And always know what is in the darkness beyond your light. How do you know what is out there? Tejan asked. Without sensors? News of Jiho's demonstrations spread beyond the academy. Students posted videos and reports on the Galactic Network. Within days, military analysts, xenobiologists, and government officials were requesting information about human capabilities. One of these officials was Commander Rathkul of the Galactic Defense Council. Commander Rathkul was a high-ranking Draken officer with silver scales that showed his age and experience. He had fought in border skirmishes against raiders. He had trained thousands of soldiers. He considered himself an expert on combat and survival. When he saw the reports about a human outrunning his best athletes and confronting predators without weapons, he was skeptical. Exaggerated stories from students, he told his aide, a young Drakon named Bora. No species can have such capabilities without advanced evolution. The videos appear authentic, Commander, Bora replied, and the professor's reports are detailed. Then I will see for myself. Arrange a visit to the academy. 3 days later, a military transport landed at the academy. Commander Rathkul emerged in full uniform, medals gleaming on his chest. Behind him came 3 of his finest warriors, all Drakon soldiers with years of combat training. Professor Velnoth greeted them nervously. Commander, welcome to our academy. How may we assist you? I wish to assess this human's capabilities myself. I have read the reports. They seem impossible. I assure you the reports are accurate. Then you will not mind a practical demonstration. I propose a combat assessment. My warriors against your human, a hunting exercise in a controlled environment. Jiho was summoned to the meeting. He listened as the commander explained the challenge. 3 trained soldiers would hunt him in a forest arena. They would have sensor equipment and stun weapons. Jiho would have 30 minutes to prepare, then the hunt would begin. This is not necessary, Professor Velnoth protested. Jiho is a teacher, not a soldier. But Jiho raised his hand. I accept the challenge, Commander. Under one condition. What condition? Rathkul asked. The soldiers use non-lethal weapons only. I will do the same. This is a demonstration, not actual combat. Agreed. My warriors will use stun weapons. You may carry whatever equipment you wish. The entire academy gathered to watch. Viewing screens were set up showing multiple camera angles of the forest arena. The arena was 5 square kilometers of dense forest, hills, and streams. Perfect hunting ground. Jiho stood at the center looking at the trees. He wore his simple clothes and carried his knife, rope, and a small pouch of items he had gathered during the survival exercise. Hyeron pushed through the crowd to reach him. Are you certain about this? Those are trained soldiers. I am certain. They have sensors, weapons, they work as a team. Jiho smiled. So do I. But you are alone. No, I have the forest. He looked at her seriously. Watch carefully. This is the difference between surviving and hunting. The countdown began. Jiho disappeared into the trees. The cameras lost sight of him within seconds. Commander Rathkul watched from the observation post with Professor Velnoth and the students. 30 minutes to prepare. Then my warriors will find him in less than an hour. The students were not so sure. Minho whispered to Jiwon. I think the commander does not understand what Jiho can do. The soldiers are armed and trained, Jiwon replied. This is different than scaring animals. When the 30 minutes ended, the 3 Draken warriors entered the arena from 3 different points. They were named Rake, Shen, and Toro. All were veterans with excellent records. Rake was the team leader. Sensors active. Spread out in triangular formation. Standard hunter protocol. The human cannot hide from our technology. They moved into the forest confidently. Their sensors scanned for heat signatures, movement, sound. The cameras followed them and the audience watched on the screens. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. No sign of Jiho. Sector 3. Clear, Rake reported. Sector 5, clear, Shen confirmed. Sector 7, clear, Toro added. They moved deeper, closing in on the center where they expected to find their target. Then Rake's sensor beeped. Contact. Heat signature ahead 30 meters. Moving slowly, all three warriors converged on the location. They surrounded it, weapons ready. Rake signaled and they rushed forward. They found a small fire burning. Next to it was a pile of leaves arranged to look like a person from a distance. Decoy, Rake snarled. The human tricked our sensors. Clever, Commander Rathcool admitted in the observation post. But now we know his location. He must be nearby, but Jiho was not nearby. He had built the decoy 2 hours earlier during his preparation time. He had lit the fire remotely using a long fuse made from dried grass. By the time the soldiers found it, he was far away. More importantly, he was behind them. Toro was moving through a dense thicket when he heard a sound. A whisper barely audible. 3 targets. Moving apart, vulnerable. He spun around, weapon raised. Nothing there. Just trees and shadows, did you hear that? He asked over the comm. Hear what? Rake responded, a voice. The human speaking. Audio hallucination from stress, Shen said. Stay focused, but it happened again. This time Shen heard it. A whisper from the trees. Looking the wrong way. All 3 warriors formed back-to-back positions, scanning in all directions. Sensors showed nothing. Cameras showed nothing. But they all felt it now. The sense of being watched. Being hunted. He is playing with us, Rake said. In the observation post, Yuna was analyzing the data. I do not understand. The sensors should detect him. He produces heat. He moves, he breathes. Where is he? Jiho was in the trees, not just near them, in them. He had climbed high into the branches, moving from tree to tree without touching the ground. The sensors were calibrated for ground movement. They were not looking up. He had also covered himself with mud and leaves, masking his heat signature. He had learned to breathe slowly, reducing his thermal output, and he moved only when the wind moved the branches, hiding his motion in natural movement. Now he waited, watching the 3 soldiers below, studying their patterns, learning their habits. Rake was the leader, but he relied too much on technology. He kept checking his sensor instead of trusting his eyes. Shen was the cautious one. He covered the others but stayed too far back, separating from the group. Toro was aggressive. He moved too fast, creating distance from his teammates. Jiho had identified the weaknesses. Now he would use them. He dropped a stone near Shen's position. The soldier spun toward the sound, weapon ready. While Shen was distracted, Jiho moved silently through the branches to a new position. Another sound, this time behind Toro. The big warrior rushed toward it, putting more distance between himself and the others. Toro, stay in formation, Rake commanded. Too late. Jiho dropped from the tree directly onto Toro. The impact knocked the soldier down. Before Toro could react, Jiho had twisted the stun weapon from his hands and rolled away into the brush. Target engaged, Toro shouted. He is here. Rake and Shen rushed to help, but Jiho was already gone, vanished into the forest. Report, Rake ordered. He took my weapon, Toro said, embarrassed and angry. Dropped from above. I never saw him. Change tactics, Rake decided. Stay together. Close formation. No separation. They moved as a tight unit now, but this made them slower. Jiho had time to prepare his next move. He found a game trail and set up a simple trap. A rope across the path at ankle height, hidden under leaves. Then he made noise to draw the soldiers toward the trail. They came carefully, sensors sweeping. Rake in front, Shen and Toro on either side. The formation was better, but they were looking ahead, not down. Rake's foot caught the rope. He stumbled forward. In that moment of imbalance, Jiho emerged from the bushes and struck pressure points on Shen's arm, making him drop his weapon. Before Toro could shoot, Jiho was gone again. Now 2 soldiers were unarmed. Only Rake still had his weapon. This is impossible, Shen said, rubbing his numb arm.
He appears and disappears like a ghost. He is no ghost, Rake said grimly.
He is a predator, and we have been hunting wrong. Rake stopped moving. He stood still, eyes closed, listening. Forget the sensors. He knows how to hide from them. Use your instincts. They waited, silent and alert. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then Rake smiled. He had heard something. The faintest rustle of leaves, not from wind, from movement. He turned and fired his stun weapon at a thick bush. The blue energy blast hit the leaves. Nothing happened. Decoy again, Toro said with frustration. Yes, said a voice behind them. Decoy, they spun around. Jiho stood there 10 meters away, holding the 2 captured stun weapons. He could have shot them easily. Instead, he dropped the weapons on the ground. "Demonstration over," he said calmly. "You are good soldiers. Well trained. But you trained for open combat. For technology warfare. This was forest hunting. Different skills." Rake stared at him. Then slowly he lowered his weapon. "You could have stunned us multiple times." "Yes, but the purpose was to demonstrate, not to humiliate. You fought well with what you knew. Now you have learned something new." In the observation post, silence reigned. Commander Rathkul watched the screens with an expression of shock. Around him, students whispered in awe. "He defeated 3 armed soldiers without harming them," Daeun said. "He was teaching them even while fighting." "No," Jiwon corrected. "He was not fighting. He was hunting. There is a difference." Professor Velnoth looked at Commander Rathkul. "Now do you believe the reports?" The grand symposium hall was filled to capacity. Students, professors, military officials, and government representatives from across the sector had gathered. Word had spread about the human who had demonstrated capabilities that challenged everything they thought they knew about Deathworlders. Now they wanted official answers. Professor Velnoth stood at the podium looking nervous but determined. Behind him, screens displayed data and images. To his right sat Jiho, uncomfortable in formal clothes but willing to participate. To his left sat his students, Hyerin, Daeun, Minho, Yuna, and even Sunwoo, who had become one of Jiho's most dedicated learners. Commander Rathkul was in the front row, along with other military leaders. In the back sat scientists from the Galactic Research Institute, data tablets in hand, ready to record everything. "Thank you for coming," Professor Velnoth began. 3 weeks ago, we invited a human to our academy as a curiosity. A primitive specimen from a backwater planet. We expected simple demonstrations of basic survival techniques. He paused. We were very wrong. The first screen lit up with an image of Earth from space. The blue and white sphere hung in darkness, beautiful and dangerous. "This is Earth," the professor continued. "A Class 4 death world. For those unfamiliar with the classification, this means the planet has extreme environmental conditions, aggressive megafauna, deadly microorganisms, and unpredictable weather patterns. Most species would require extensive technological protection just to visit this world safely. Humans evolved there." Murmurs spread through the audience. A Class 4 rating was rare. Most civilized species came from Class 1 or Class 2 worlds where conditions were mild and predictable. The screen changed to show various images: massive storms, volcanic eruptions, enormous predators, vast oceans. Earth's gravity is 1.7 times standard, Professor Velnoth explained. Its temperature varies by over 100 degrees Celsius depending on location and season. It has predators that can kill with claws, teeth, venom, or crushing strength. It has diseases that can devastate populations. Natural disasters can strike without warning. And yet humans not only survived here, they thrived. Hyerin stood and approached her own podium. She had prepared a presentation on human evolution and adaptation. Her voice was steady, though she was nervous speaking before so many important people. "I researched human development over the past 3 weeks," she began. "What I found surprised me. Humans evolved through constant pressure. Their brain size increased dramatically over a short period, evolutionarily speaking. Why? Because intelligence was the only advantage they had." She displayed a comparison chart. Humans are not the strongest species. They are not the fastest. They do not have natural weapons like claws or venom. They do not have protective shells or scales. By all logic, they should have gone extinct. But they did not. The screen showed images of early humans using tools. They developed tool use to a degree unmatched by any other known species. Their hands have an opposable thumb and fine motor control that allows manipulation of objects with incredible precision. They can create fire. They can craft weapons. They can build shelters. All of this while still being organic beings, not augmented by technology. Daeun took over next. But tools alone do not explain their survival. Humans have physical adaptations that are unique. They are persistence predators, capable of running for hours without stopping. They have superior endurance compared to almost any species we have studied. Their ability to regulate body temperature through sweating allows them to stay active when other species must rest. She displayed thermal images. They can survive in extreme heat and extreme cold with minimal equipment. Their immune systems fight off diseases constantly. They heal from injuries that would be fatal to many species. And their ability to adapt to new environments is remarkable. Give a human a new world, and within a generation they will find a way to survive there. Yuna stepped forward with her data analysis. The most interesting aspect is their cognitive ability, combined with their physical endurance. Most species optimize for one or the other. High intelligence usually comes with physical weakness. High physical ability usually limits cognitive development. Humans somehow developed both. She showed brain scans and performance data. Human brains are extremely efficient at pattern recognition, problem solving, and innovation. But they also maintain excellent spatial awareness, hand-eye coordination, and reflexes. They can switch between analytical thinking and instinctive reaction almost instantly. This flexibility is unprecedented. Minho spoke about human social structure. Humans are highly social beings. They form complex groups with hierarchies. But these hierarchies are flexible. They cooperate on levels that rival hive species, but maintain individual identity and creativity. This allows them to pool knowledge and resources while still innovating independently. Sun Wu talked about human physical capabilities from an athlete's perspective. I learned the hard way that humans are not weak. They are optimized differently. They trade maximum speed for unlimited endurance. They trade maximum strength for fine control. They trade armored protection for flexibility, and somehow this makes them more dangerous, not less. Finally, G1 presented tactical analysis. Human combat psychology is complex. They can be aggressive or defensive, strategic or instinctive. They study their opponents and adapt tactics in real time. They use psychology as a weapon. They use environment as an ally. They are not just fighters. They are problem solvers who happen to be fighting. When the students finished, the audience sat in silence, processing the information. Then the questions began. If humans are so dangerous, why have we not heard of them before? Asked a Velkaran official. Professor Velnoth answered, because they are also extremely young on the galactic scale. They only achieved space travel recently, and when first contact was made, they were more interested in learning than conquering. They hid their true capabilities behind politeness and curiosity. Are they a threat to galactic security? Demanded a military officer. Commander Rathkul stood to answer this. I believe they are not, but they could be if threatened. My assessment is that humans are capable warriors who choose peace. This makes them valuable allies and dangerous enemies. We should treat them with respect. What are their weaknesses? Someone called out. Jiho stood now. It was time for him to speak. The room fell silent, everyone wanting to hear directly from the human. We have many weaknesses, Jiho said honestly. We are emotional. We form strong attachments that can be used against us. We can be manipulated through our social bonds. We fear death even though we face it constantly. We make mistakes when tired or stressed. We are not perfect. He paused, looking around the room. But our greatest weakness is also our greatest strength. We care too much. We will risk our lives for others. We will fight impossible battles to protect those we love. We will sacrifice ourselves for causes we believe in. This makes us predictable in some ways, but it also makes us unpredictable. Because humans who have nothing left to lose are the most dangerous things in the universe. A scientist asked, how did your species avoid self-destruction? With such capabilities and emotions, you should have destroyed yourselves in wars. We almost did, Jiho replied quietly. Many times. We have weapons that could kill our entire species. We have had wars that killed millions. We have made terrible mistakes. But we also learned. We developed laws, ethics, and diplomacy. We chose to be civilized despite our savage origins. Why? Asked a young student from the audience. Why choose civilization when violence was so effective? Jiho smiled sadly. Because we discovered something more powerful than violence. Cooperation. When humans work together, we can achieve anything. Build cities. Explore space. Create art and music and literature. Violence can destroy, but cooperation can create. And humans want to create. We want to build, to grow, to leave something behind that matters. He looked at his students. That is why I teach. That is why I came here, not to show you how dangerous humans are, but to show you what we learned from surviving. We learned resilience. We learned adaptability. We learned that intelligence and compassion are not weakness. They are strength. Aquilian administrator raised a wing. You speak of Earth being a death world, but you made it sound terrible. Do you not love your home? I love Earth deeply, Jiho said with passion. Yes, it is dangerous. Yes, it tried to kill my ancestors for thousands of years, but it is also beautiful beyond description. It has mountains that touch the sky, oceans that stretch to the horizon. Forests filled with life, deserts under countless stars. Earth shaped us through pain, but it also gave us wonder. We are dangerous because we had to be. We are strong because we were forced to be. But we are also poets and artists and dreamers because Earth showed us beauty alongside danger. The room was silent. Then slowly, people began to understand. Humans were not monsters. They were survivors who had been shaped by their world into something unique. Dangerous, yes, but also capable of great things. Professor Velnoth made his closing statement. The Galactic Council has asked me for a recommendation regarding Earth and humanity. Here is my recommendation. Earth should be upgraded from backwater planet of minimal interest to planet of strategic importance.